Have you ever wondered about the strangest photos that time has forgotten? Today, we will reveal to you the strangest and most fascinating vintage photos that you will love. I promise you. Enjoy the show. Remember those classic diners of the 1940s? These uniforms started a revolution in American restaurants. What began in ice cream parlors spread nationwide, transforming casual dining forever. These outfits became so iconic, even Hollywood caught on, featuring them in countless films. Looking back, these uniforms marked the start of America's unique diner culture, where good food met great service with a smile. Talk about a Hollywood success story. Colleen Camp started as a talent show winner in 1973, and next thing you know, she's sharing scenes with Peter Sellers and Bruce Lee. She went from delivering one line in Battle for the Planet of the Apes to starring in over 100 productions. Nowadays, she's not just acting, she's producing major films in Hollywood. Meet Mamie Van Doren, the 1950s sensation who started as a beauty queen in South Dakota. Universal Studios spotted her talent and turned her into a leading star overnight. Beyond acting, she made headlines performing for our troops overseas and even released hit records. Her autobiography title, Playing the Field, and she sure did live life her way. Before 1955, summer meant closed pools and empty playgrounds across America. Then came what some called the miracle moment. Dr. Jonas Salk's vaccine arrived in warehouses like this one. Those boxes marked Rush contained hope for millions. Within just months, parents nationwide breathed a collective sigh of relief. By the way, that first batch, all 7 million doses were distributed in less than a week. Feast your eyes on the Mount Pleasant Post Office in London, 1952. During the holiday rush, postal workers faced mountains of packages, literally. The piles grew so high they had to sort mail sitting on the steps. Each year brought over 30 million holiday packages through this one building. 1951 marked a turning point for Marilyn Monroe. A rising star at Fox Studios, she was taking acting classes at night while filming during the day. That same year, she enrolled in literature classes at UCLA. The press called her just another pretty face, but she was quietly building an empire. Within months, she'd land her first starring role and change Hollywood forever. This historic moment at the White House, caught on camera in 1964, changed America forever. Inside the East Room, beneath those grand crystal chandeliers, over 200 guests watched as President Johnson picked up multiple pens to sign a landmark document. Imagine Baghdad in the 1950s, a bustling metropolis of grand boulevards and sleek American cars. The Hafid al-Qadi Square was the city's crown jewel, where Chevys and Cadillacs cruised past modernist architecture. In those days, locals called it the Paris of the Middle East. 1962 marked Sophia Loren's Hollywood triumph. After winning an Oscar for Two Women, she became the first international star to leave her prints at Grauman's Chinese Theater. Just imagine, a girl from Naples who once sold tomatoes in the market now had her name in Hollywood concrete. Caught on camera. The elusive Greta Garbo returning to New York in 1938. This Swedish sensation turned down Hollywood millions just to keep her privacy. Known for dodging photographers, she'd become a master of disguise during her European trips. This rare smile, pure gold for reporters who'd been chasing her for months. Within a year, she'd star in her final film and vanish from the spotlight forever. Program address: Sister Mary Kenneth Keller, the first woman to receive a doctorate in computer science in the United States, 1965. Picture this. 1932, Dr. Eric Salomon walks into the Supreme Court wearing a cast. Except that cast, it's hiding a secret camera. This crafty photographer became the first person to snap a photo inside those hallowed halls. The marble columns and velvet curtains had never been captured on film before. Los Angeles, 1968, when the Monkees met avant-garde. Mike Nesmith, the guitarist from America's answer to the Beatles, hanging out with Frank Zappa, the maestro of musical mayhem. These two actually cooked up a wild plan. Zappa appeared in the Monkees movie wearing Mike's wool hat. Ever seen that infectious smile before? Picture this. 1986, a fresh-faced Stephen Colbert studying comedy at Second City in Chicago. For just $35 a week, he was learning improv alongside future stars like Steve Carell. Most fascinating part? He actually planned to become a dramatic actor focusing on Shakespeare. This snapshot from 1965 Rabat captures something remarkable. These stylish ladies combine traditional veils with the latest European fashion trends, tailored coats straight from Paris catalogs. The fascinating blend created a unique Moroccan style that turned heads on Mediterranean streets. Main Street Gym, Los Angeles, 1962. Training for his bout with Archie Moore, the young star jumped rope 5 hours daily. His secret training weapon? A metronome set to classical music beats. 1958, Germany. During breaks between tank training exercises, Private Presley had a unique setup, a portable record player in his quarters. Radio stations across Europe played his hits, while he couldn't even spin his own records. The interesting part? His sergeant mentioned he was the most disciplined soldier when it came to maintaining his equipment. Behind that stunning Hollywood look was a brilliant mind. Speaking multiple languages, Vivian Leigh collected rare first edition books amassing over 250 valuable volumes. Her most cherished possession? A first edition of Gone with the Wind, signed not by her but by every cast member except Clark Gable. Wellesley College, 1969. This prestigious women's college had quite an unusual tradition. Students would leave midnight snacks outside their classmates' doors during finals week. San Francisco, 1952. Those steep hills weren't just a workout. They were nature's playground. Neighborhood kids turned cardboard boxes into instant sleds, racing down 31-degree slopes. Even that "not a through street" sign couldn't stop the fun. 1952 Hawaii, when Chevrolets came by boat. These beauties had to survive a 2-week ocean journey from California, wrapped in special wax coating to prevent rust from sea air. Mainland price, $2,100. In Hawaii, add another $900 for the Pacific cruise. An astronaut's biggest enemy in space? Sometimes it's just an itchy nose. In 1972, NASA engineers added a genius solution to the Apollo suits, a small patch of rough Velcro inside the helmet. Houston didn't have a problem with this simple fix, which even helped during 5-hour moonwalks. Travel guides of the 1800s had a peculiar selling point for Egyptian pyramids. The steeper, the better. Victorian tourists paid extra for guides who'd help them scramble up 45-degree angles in formal dress. Picture this: 1984 New York City. A young Steve Jobs demonstrates the brand new Macintosh to Andy Warhol at a dinner party. Intrigued by digital art possibilities, Warhol created his first computer painting, a digital Campbell's soup can. The fascinating part, he saved it as, quote, Campbell's.pic, quote, because he wasn't sure about file names. 1970s air travel had some amazing innovations. Those built-in TVs weren't just for movies. They displayed real-time flight maps using early computer graphics. The fascinating part? Each plane carried 4 massive videotape players, weighing 200 pounds total. May 10th, 1970. Hockey magic frozen in time. Bobby Orr scores in overtime, gets tripped, and literally flies through the air like Superman. Most amazing part? The photographer caught him mid-flight, arms raised in victory, before he even knew the puck was in. That split second became Boston's most treasured sports photo. 1968. The moment that changed computing forever. At this demonstration, nicknamed the mother of all demos, every click and scroll we take for granted today made its debut. The mind-blowing part? That mouse cost $300 to build, about $2,500 in today's money? Bet those first clicks were done very, very carefully. Back in the 1970s, small-town gymnasiums hosted the wackiest sporting event, donkey basketball. Local teams would mount these stubborn players for the most unpredictable game ever. The hilarious twist? The donkeys had zero interest in following basketball strategy. Hollywood, 1960, and here's something surprising. Marilyn owned 999 books in her personal library. Between takes, she'd devour everything from Russian literature to quantum physics. The fascinating part? Her poolside companion that summer wasn't just champagne, it was Ulysses by James Joyce, December 1955. A truly unique diplomatic moment in Kabul. Those Afghan honor guards? They're wearing surplus German uniforms, bought at bargain prices after 1945. The fascinating part? Each uniform costs less than $1, complete with helmets. Meet HMS Vanguard, 1946. Britain's last battleship with a peculiar story. Started during the Big One, finished after peace. She had the guns from 1916's canceled ships. The curious part? While being the most advanced battleship ever built, she never fired those massive guns in anger. 1972, behind the scenes of movie history. Between those intense Godfather takes, the cast kept things surprisingly light. The fascinating part? Pacino would break tension by telling old Bronx theater stories, making even the most serious crew members crack up. Venice Beach, 1979, when roller skating wasn't just a hobby, it was a lifestyle. Those tube socks weren't just for show. Skaters believed the stripes improved balance. Paris, 1889. Gustav Eiffel wasn't just about that famous tower. The surprising twist? He built himself a secret apartment at the top, complete with a piano, wood walls, and a small lab. When Parisians discovered this sky-high hideaway, they offered small fortunes to rent it for a night.
Hi, friends. Check out this adorable 1980s collectible doll. With her big blonde hair and glittery outfit, she really captures the glam country style of that era. Who do you think she looks like? I think Dolly Parton. Talk about extreme photography. Here's Frank Hurley capturing the ill-fated Endurance, frozen solid in Antarctic ice. At minus 20 degrees Fahrenheit, every click of that camera was a battle against freezing equipment and frostbite. Imagine lugging that heavy gear across the ice just to document one of history's greatest survival stories. 1992, Hollywood's golden era. This photo shoot captures Drew Barrymore during her dramatic career transformation. 1961, when even roller skates needed a gas fill-up. Check out this snazzy businessman getting his motorized skates refueled at 25 cents a gallon. Talk about a wild commute to work. Marilyn Monroe, November 17th, 1955. She will donate money to a foundation for further research. Look at this beauty. One of Sweden's first motorized buses, proudly serving the streets of Linköping. The wooden wheels, no windshield, and that proud driver standing at attention. Pure class from the roaring 20s. Pure 1960s television magic in that sleek black catsuit. The Batman series brought us those unforgettable feline femme fatales who prowled across our TV screens. That iconic costume with the cat ears and gold medallion became a symbol of TV villainy at its most stylish. This legendary side-eye at the Beverly Hills Hotel became one of Hollywood's most iconic photos. Sophia Loren later revealed why she was staring. I was afraid everything was going to spill out. Back when air travel was pure luxury, these American Airlines graduates had to master everything from meteorology to meal service in those crisp white uniforms. Fun fact, they even had to fit into a strict weight limit and couldn't be married. Raw strength and grit captured in one powerful shot. Check out this German bricklayer balancing a load that would make most of us buckle. That flat cap, weathered vest, and determined look tell the story of hard work in the roaring 20s. A recently unemployed man stands before the American Way billboard in the 1930s. The black dress that shook England in '94, this Christina Stambolian design made fashion history. Off-shoulder velvet, pearl choker, and pure confidence. They say timing is everything, and this bold style choice on that particular evening spoke volumes without saying a word. Carla Gugino, 90s. forever favorite actress of mine. Talk about impressive flexibility. Jane Fonda showing off her ballet training in this striking 1967 studio shot. At 30, she was just warming up for her fitness empire that would revolutionize home workouts in the coming decades. Those legendary workout videos started somewhere, folks. Now, here's a view of the Sphinx most folks never see. Everyone knows the majestic face, but this massive lion's tail tells the other half of the story. Built over 4,500 years ago, this ancient marvel had a complete body, not just a head. Imagine the countless sandstorms it's weathered since those old kingdom days. Before chainsaws and hydraulic lifts, these tough California lumberjacks took down giants with nothing but hand saws and pure grit. What a sight! Golden wheat swaying against Manhattan skyscrapers. Artist Agnes Dins turned urban wasteland into a stunning statement about nature versus city life. Imagine walking through Wall Street and stumbling upon this surreal vision. 1.5 acres of wheat, where you'd expect concrete and steel. Her team cleared garbage and rocks, dug hundreds of furrows by hand, all to create this powerful contrast between rural and urban America. Pure Hollywood glamour at the 66 Golden Globes. Just look at that sparkle. From Cardinale's beaded gown to those million-dollar smiles. This was when award shows were intimate affairs with real crystal glasses on the tables and everyone smoking between courses. A sailor's homecoming after 14 months at sea in the 1940s. The pure joy and emotion in this embrace tells a story of love, duty, and sacrifice during wartime America. Those long separations were just part of life for Navy families back then. Talk about primitive tech. These World War I acoustic listening devices look like something from a Disney cartoon with those Mickey Mouse ears. Before radar was invented, this was cutting-edge military equipment. Soldiers literally using their ears to detect incoming planes. Must have been quite a sight on the Western Front. Friends posed for a photo on vacation in 1972 and recreated it 50 years later. Pure Italian glamour captured on the Madam, set in '61. That natural lighting, the period costume, and those famous Lauren looks made every shot a masterpiece. Hollywood and Italian cinema were changing the game back then, blending European elegance with star power. 1945 Detroit. Betty Fox, the queen of daredevils, performing her jaw-dropping stunt 22 stories above Lafayette Boulevard. No safety nets, just pure nerve in a dancer's outfit on top of the Fort Shelby Hotel. They sure don't make shows like this anymore, folks. What's your take on these golden age stunts? Here's a precious moment from the 1920s Arctic. An Inuit father passing down survival skills to his boy. Those traditional sealskin parkas they're wearing? Better than any modern winter gear. 1948, when flying was glamorous and airlines had strict rules. United Airlines' ideal stewardess stats. 23 years old, 117 pounds, 5 feet 5 inches tall. Would you believe they even had to be single and retire by 32? Talk about different times. Sure beats today's cramped seats and bag fees, though. All aboard the flying boat. Imagine stepping into this magnificent Sikorsky S-40, Pan Am's crown jewel of luxury air travel. Those 4 massive engines above could carry 38 lucky passengers across the Caribbean in style. Captured in his final Commons exit, the unmistakable defiant grin, his Cuban cigar, and the polka dot bow tie. The man who rallied Britain through its darkest hour spent an astounding 64 years serving his country in Parliament. Beware of Spies poster from 1914. Those classic McDonald's uniforms from '77, red polyester striped shirts and those iconic paper hats. Before touch screens and mobile orders, when a Big Mac was just 75 cents and shakes were mixed by hand. Remember when fast food had that hometown feel to it? Classic New York corner joint with those glowing neon signs and 5-cent Frankfurters. Spot that Lincoln Continental parked outside and the bustling Broadway crowd. Man, these neighborhood diners were the real deal. No fancy menus, just good coffee, better conversation, and the best people watching in the city. The world's first documented kiss, captured in clay from ancient Mesopotamia, dating back an incredible 5,000 years. Now this is what they called air travel in the Roaring '20s. The massive R-101 airship, dwarfing that mooring tower at Cardington, looks like something from a sci-fi movie. Peek into a chef's early days. Fresh ingredients laid out on the counter, fish chart on the wall, and that determined look of someone who'd become a culinary legend. Look at that kitchen setup. No fancy equipment, just the basics and pure passion for food. Classic American high school scene right here. Those international harvester buses, the gingham dresses, cowboy boots, and cardigan sweaters. Pure early '70s style. Back when bell-bottoms were groovy and carrying your textbooks was an arm workout. Pure 1960s style icon. That signature look, tousled blonde hair with bangs, the red bow, and matching sweater, became the blueprint for modern French chic. Every girl wanted that Bardot look, from the cat-eye makeup to the perfect pout. Soldiers prepared for the Battle of Antietam, 1862. The ultimate status symbol of 1949. That sleek white TV with the futuristic rabbit ears. Check out that proud homeowner in her coral dress posing next to what was probably the neighborhood's first television. A powerful moment in American history. Ordinary folks lined the railroad tracks to bid their final farewell to RFK. Those simple handmade signs and that American flag tell a story of profound national grief. The transformation that rocked 1978. That final scene where Sweet Sandy shows her wild side became an instant classic. Talk about hands-on decision-making. Ford executives laying out their color choices like a giant automotive rainbow. Each of those 76 miniatures represents thousands of future cars rolling off the assembly line. Back when American cars weren't just black and white, but came in every shade of the rainbow. Remember those two-tone beauties from '53? Those fins and chrome details really popped in coral pink and seafoam green. State-of-the-art computing in the '60s? That IBM terminal probably had less processing power than today's calculator, but back then it was cutting-edge technology. Actress Joan Bradshaw walking her poodle around the Hollywood Boulevard and Vine Street intersection, August 8th, 1957. Before bucket trucks and fiber optics, a telephone repairman working the California lines in 1887. One guy up the pole, another man in the horse and wagon below. No safety harness, no hard hat, just a sturdy pair of boots and raw courage. And folks today complain when their Wi-Fi drops for 5 minutes, Mother Nature taking a pause. In 1969, engineers completely stopped the American Falls to study the rock slides. Imagine one of Earth's mightiest waterfalls turned off like a faucet. In 1979, Venice Beach was all about wheels and good times. This shot from Westminster Avenue shows why, where roller skating wasn't just a trend, it was California living at its finest. Every weekend, 500-plus skaters hit these streets, turning a beach town into the coolest spot in LA. Ever wonder who decided if your tea was good enough for America? Back in 1947, these guys, the U.S. Board of Tea Experts, were the country's official tea tasters. No joke. They'd sample dozens of cups daily, making sure every tea shipment hitting our shores was up to snuff. 1952. Here's Betty White, already a TV pioneer at her LA home. Sure, that TV set's ancient by today's standards, but check out those fab 50s curtains and that butterfly tablecloth. And her poodle begging for attention? Some things never change. America's golden girl was stealing hearts long before Rose Nylund came along. 1980, Wonder Woman herself, Linda Carter, proving she didn't need that golden tiara to turn heads. After wrapping up her superhero days, she was ready for primetime CBS in classic 80s glamour. Velvet, diamonds, and that million-dollar smile. 1958. Before he was the king, he was just Private Presley, stationed in Germany. Here's Elvis keeping his fellow soldiers entertained between duties. Even in army fatigues, with just a simple guitar, he couldn't help making music, standing on top of the world, literally. Here's the moment when Hillary and Norgay became legends. Simple gear, basic equipment, and pure guts got them where no human had gone before. The Iron Lady meets Soviet shopping. Here's Margaret Thatcher checking out Moscow's prices, probably thinking about her local Tesco back home. Talk about making an entrance. Sophia Loren lighting up Venice in that show-stopping sparkler of a dress. Look at that confidence. She's not just attending the festival, she's owning it. Hollywood glamour meets Italian style, and boy, did it work. Well, that's one way to beat London traffic. Someone actually turned a Vespa into a water scooter. Look at this fella giving tours past Big Ben, complete with bowler hat. Because, hey, you got to stay proper even when you're riding a scooter through the Thames. Back when flying was glamorous, even the airplane kitchen looked like $1 million. Those sleek stainless steel cabinets could have been in a fancy restaurant. And look at that Pan Am stewardess treating airplane food prep like fine dining. Before Bonnie and Clyde made her a star, here's Faye Dunaway rocking those perfectly styled curls and that signature pout. Remember when train travel was pure luxury? Plush seats turning into cozy beds, wood paneling everywhere, and enough legroom to actually sleep. These first-class cars were basically rolling hotels. Beats today's economy seat by a country mile. A scene straight out of the Old West. Just a man, his horse, and an ancient form of long-distance communication. That puff of smoke against the big Montana sky wasn't just a signal. It was a language all its own, reaching miles across the prairie long before phones changed everything. Imagine dining at 1,000 feet. White tablecloths, crystal glasses, and those amazing slanted windows showing the world below. This wasn't just airplane food, folks. The Hindenburg's restaurant served up 5-star meals with a view you couldn't beat. Too bad the in-flight entertainment was just clouds. 1950s ingenuity at its finest. This gadget promised multitasking housewives could catch up on their reading while doing the floors. Look at those brush sandals. Someone actually thought this was better than a mop. Young Bardot, before becoming Bibi, just a French girl in a floral dress with the world's biggest sun hat. That mischievous smile hints at the bombshell she'd soon become. Talk about hands-on training. Picture a bunch of young mechanics huddled around a motorcycle like kids at story time. This was how Harley passed down their trade secrets. No fancy manuals or YouTube tutorials, just good old-fashioned watch and learn. Every bike was a lesson. End of an era right here. Seattle trading rails for rubber tires. Funny how life keeps rolling. Those sleek buses were the future back then, replacing the old streetcar tracks that once defined the city. Third Avenue's getting a modern makeover, while folks just keep shopping at Green's and hitting the Hotel Shelton like any other day. Pure Hollywood glamour, 1940s style. Francis Rafferty giving the camera that million-dollar smile. Sequins sparkling, gloves up to there, hair perfectly coiffed. Before TV took over, this was what movie star magic looked like. The Rocket Express. A monorail that carried kids around the 8th floor at the Wanamaker's department store in the 1950s, Philadelphia. Automated drive-in delivery metal track at the fast food restaurant, The Track. Los Angeles, California, USA, 1949. A playful moment between takes on The Empire Strikes Back. Princess Leia borrowing Han Solo's specs. You can almost hear that famous Carrie Fisher laugh. Forget the galaxy far, far away. This is pure Hollywood magic behind the scenes. Steelworker touching the tip of the Chrysler Building during the 1931 construction of the Empire State Building. New York City, USA. VJ Day, 1945, New York City. That morning, when Japan surrendered, the entire city exploded with joy. Office workers emptied their filing cabinets, tossing papers out of skyscraper windows. By noon, the streets of Manhattan were knee-deep in paper. Probably the biggest mess the city ever celebrated. Back in 1980, during the Empire Strikes Back promotion, these Imperial troops went off script in London. Who knew stormtroopers had a soft spot for princesses? Even off camera, Princess Leia still had them wrapped around her finger. Summer in the 60s. Here's Audrey Hepburn away from the glamour of Hollywood, just soaking up the sun in that eye-catching striped swimsuit. Who knew the Breakfast at Tiffany's star could make a simple beach chair look this stylish? Princeton, 1944. Here's Einstein, not as a scientific icon, but as a regular professor in his comfy sweater and worn shoes. Behind him, complex equations on the board. But look at those casual slacks and that relaxed pose. 1930. Check out this state-of-the-art auto service. That's a Model A, getting the royal treatment at a Lube Seal garage. Back when cars were simpler, but garages were getting fancy, hydraulic lifts were the new hot thing. Bet your grandfather remembers these days when an oil change was a real mechanical show. Pure joy captured in a simple picket fence moment. That smile says more than any history book. This French woman greeting her American liberator like a long-lost friend. No medals, no ceremonies, just real people sharing the first taste of freedom. And check out the GI's boots, still muddy from the long march to Strasbourg. Now that's a first sip reaction. This Parisian just discovered what American kids had known for years. Coke's fizz is no joke. That look of surprise, the exploding bubbles. Perfect timing by the photographer. Bet he wasn't expecting his taste test to become a classic photo. Nothing beats a hot dog at the game, even in pre-war Sweden. Check out those dapper gents in their Sunday best, all suited up for some football. That vendor in white must have been the most popular guy in the stadium. Even presidents get photobombed. Check out those curious kids peeking through the window while JFK reviews his notes. The future president, lost in his thoughts, probably didn't notice his young audience. This fellow's working out in what became history's most famous gym. First-class passengers on Titanic paid extra for this fancy fitness room, complete with electric horses and rowing machines. Young Hollywood, fresh faces, and big dreams. Tom's megawatt smile was already there just months after risky business launched these two into stardom. Still rocking that casual 80s style before the Top Gun bomber jackets and slick suits took over. Meet Tina Louise before she was stranded on Gilligan's Island with 6 other castaways. Hard to believe this glamour shot led to playing Ginger, the movie star stuck on a desert island. Hollywood sure knew how to capture that sultry screen siren look back then. The king of horror, looking pretty unscary in his Dead Zone t-shirt. Just a guy with thick glasses, signing posters, probably dreaming up the next nightmare to keep us all awake. Jane Mansfield photographed strolling in New York City with her daughter, Jane Marie, in 1953. When you're the Kaiser, you smoke how you want. Wilhelm II here, showing that even with a golden spiked helmet and royal cape, sometimes you just need a cigarette break. Would you look at those gas prices? 48 cents a gallon, this Nova driver's smiling because she just filled up her tank for less than $10. Between the Coke signs and self-service pumps, it's pure 70s Americana. Back when you could actually afford to cruise around all weekend, just another night in '76. Music royalty letting loose. 3 power couples sharing drinks and laughs. McCartney fresh from Wings. Dylan between albums. And Cher with her Southern rock bow. Imagine the stories shared around that checkered tablecloth. Building the Hoover Dam. The concrete foundation of the dam is poured into separate blocks called lifts. September 11th, 1933. From Swedish beauty queen to La Dolce Vita star. Here's Anita Ekberg making a simple sundress look like haute couture. Those delicate butterflies on white, that classic 50s silhouette. This was before Rome's Trevi Fountain made her immortal. Modern living hits the farmhouse. Check out those sleek built-in cabinets and that deep farmhouse sink. State-of-the-art for the 1930s. Even had a window over the sink so the lady of the house could daydream while doing dishes. The world's most unique interview. A Soviet journalist braving the Antarctic cold to get the scoop from his feathered friend. Guess even penguins had something to say during the Cold War. The milkman leaving milk on the doorstep. 1950s. Remember, 1990s, wild at heart? David Lynch paired up Nicolas Cage and Laura Dern for what turned into pure movie magic. These two lit up the screen like a Vegas jackpot, with Cage rocking that snakeskin jacket and Dern channeling pure rock and roll attitude. You'd never guess this wild ride won the Palme d'Or at Cannes, beating out some pretty serious competition. You're looking at the birth of American ski culture, 1946 Idaho. Those fancy sunbathers? They started a revolution in winter sports fashion. Before this, skiing was all business. But these folks brought style to the slopes. Check out those high-waisted pants and cable-knit sweaters, pure vintage cool. And those sunglasses? The original Ray-Ban aviators that everyone copied. Think you've seen rubberneckers? Back in the 1940s, car accidents were such rare events that they became instant neighborhood gatherings. That Cadillac's crumpled nose drew crowds like a drive-in movie premiere. Here's a fascinating bit of Hollywood magic from 1975. That's a 13-year-old Jodie Foster and her double Connie on the set of Taxi Driver. Scorsese needed an adult stand-in due to strict filming regulations, so he hired Jodie's sister to keep the family resemblance. When genius meets comedy. Here's Einstein and Chaplin at the City Lights premiere in 1931. Einstein whispered to Chaplin, "People clap for me because nobody understands what I say. They clap for you because everybody understands what you don't say." That's right. Science's greatest mind praising silent comedy. Guess brilliance speaks every language? Two women demonstrate how to turn a sidecar into a small caravan. The motorcycle is a Panther model 120 650 cubic centimeter single-cylinder engine, 1958. Las Vegas, 1960. Even stars get bored with the glitz and glamour. Here's Marilyn Monroe at a craps table, looking more interested in her thoughts than the game. This rare candid shot shows the real person behind the legend. Even in the entertainment capital of the world, sometimes you just want a quiet moment. Imagine having that much star power and still being over the whole Vegas scene. New York, 1978, when punk met poetry. Here's Debbie Harry of Blondie, showing why they called her the Queen of CBGBs. That iconic pose became the blueprint for rock performers. Movie marketing in 1933 had style. This creative ticket booth for King Kong at Grauman's Chinese Theater was pure genius. For just 24 cents, you could buy your ticket from inside Kong's mouth. Here's a rare shot from Tootsie's screen tests in 1981. That's Bill Murray and Sigourney Weaver before the movie's final casting. Murray was considered for the lead role that eventually went to Dustin Hoffman. British cinema changed forever with 1971's Get Carter. Michael Caine brought his signature style to this groundbreaking crime film. They shot most scenes on location in Newcastle, using real buildings instead of sets. The iconic black coat? Caine picked it himself from his own wardrobe. Now, this is a rock and roll wedding. Paula Yates and Bob Geldof, 1986, surrounded by the coolest guest list in London. That stunning red dress made headlines across Europe. See David Gilmour in his kilt and Simon Le Bon looking dapper in black tie. This 1863 portrait tells an amazing story. Photographer Matthew Brady caught Lincoln in a rare moment of calm during the Civil War. That slight smile? Brady actually told Lincoln a joke right before taking the shot. The camera technology back then required sitting completely still for 90 seconds. Imagine holding that expression. Here's Matt Groening in 1990, when The Simpsons was just taking off. Fun fact, he sketched the original Simpson family in just 15 minutes while waiting in a TV producer's office. That Bart poster on his wall, worth pennies then, thousands now. Nobody knew they were looking at what would become the longest-running animated series in television history. Talk about a dough. Moment turned into gold. 1955, when Hollywood glamour met real-life fairy tales. Here's Grace Kelly with her Great Dane, just months before becoming Princess of Monaco. That casual outfit? Actually from Dior's private collection. The photographer caught this candid moment during a press tour for To Catch a Thief, Madison Square Garden, May 1962, the night of JFK's birthday celebration. That's opera legend Maria Callas and Marilyn Monroe in completely opposite styles. Marilyn's dress? Designed by Jean Louis. So tight, she had to be sewn into it. This famous sparkly gown later sold at auction for $4.8 million. December 8th, 1980. An intimate moment captured in history. This grainy photo shows John Lennon in his signature glasses, just hours after finishing work at the record plant studio. He'd spent the day working on Yoko's song, Walking on Thin Ice, early 1950s fashion at its finest. Here's Princess Margaret and then Princess Elizabeth, both trendsetters of their time. Those matching handbags, custom made by Launer London, still the royal family's favorite brand today. Elizabeth chose practical flats while Margaret went for heels, their personalities shining through their style choices. Even royalty couldn't resist a bit of sisterly fashion competition. Picture this, a thrill ride straight up an active volcano. In 1880, these brilliant engineers built a railway climbing Mount Vesuvius at a mind-bending 45-degree angle. The ride became such a sensation that they wrote a song about it, Funiculi, Funicula, which turned into a worldwide hit. In 1965, a fascinating story unfolded at Big Sur, California. This talented actress played Laura Reynolds, a free-spirited artist living in an isolated beach house. The role perfectly matched her real personality, independent and unafraid to challenge society's rules. The 1990s saw this young talent turn down Stanford University to chase her dreams. Smart move. By 1996, she was lighting up the screen in edgy films like Fear and Freeway. Then came the knockout punch. 1999 brought us Election, where she played Tracy Flick, a role that earned her first Golden Globe nomination. Here's a delightful snapshot from 1964 that captures a special moment between two generations of comedy. A young Ron Howard shares a laugh with the legendary Don Knotts during what appears to be an impromptu baseball moment. Picture this. Back in 1961, when air travel was the height of glamour, airlines would occasionally transport exotic animals in style. This striking photo shows an elegant flight attendant walking a cheetah on the tarmac at Amsterdam Airport, with a sleek aircraft in the background. Picture this, 1975 in Los Angeles, when fashion and rock and roll collided in the most fascinating way. A talented costume designer meets the thin white Duke himself, creating one of music's most intriguing partnerships. Take a look at 1976, when an 18-year-old dance student was about to change the face of pop culture forever. This talented freshman at the University of Michigan earned a full scholarship for her exceptional dance abilities, maintaining straight A's while pursuing her passion for ballet and modern dance. Think your lunch breaks are dull? In 1900, these Chattanooga department store ladies turned their rooftop into a social club. Those fancy hats they're tipping? Company uniforms. Stores insisted on proper headwear back then. Looking sharp in those Victorian outfits while balancing on a rooftop? Now that's what I call style with attitude. Meet Charlotte Greenwood, the original multitasker of 1928. This talented performer could memorize scripts while doing splits. No joke. A Broadway sensation who did her own stunts, she was famous for her incredible flexibility. In an era of fancy dresses, here's a fashion secret from Queen Victoria herself. That stunning black velvet gown, it sparked a style revolution. Victoria made black clothing fashionable across Europe, not just for mourning anymore. Those tiny buttons down the front, each one cost more than a worker's monthly salary. Only in 1970s, California, would you find physics taught like this. This innovative teacher turned surfing into a science lesson, complete with radical demonstrations. Notice the formula on the board. That's for calculating the perfect wave. Behind the scenes of Bewitched, 1967, Elizabeth Montgomery taking a break between scenes, but still looking every bit the star. Those signature Ray-Ban shades, they became just as iconic as Samantha's nose twitch. Nevada Desert, 1961. Marilyn Monroe takes a break during The Misfits to chat with a tiny fan. Those jeans and tied shirt, they sparked a whole new casual fashion trend. Fun fact, Monroe insisted on using her personal umbrella handler during filming, not for diva reasons, but to protect her fair skin in the scorching desert sun. Talk about symbolism. This promo shot for The Silence of the Lambs perfectly captures the film's essence. Jodie Foster holding an innocent lamb against that gothic backdrop. Pure artistic genius. Pure 70s style right here. Charles Bronson and Jill Ireland strolling through Hollywood. Those floral palazzo pants she's wearing, they cost more than his entire outfit, yet he'd proudly tell everyone it was his wife's killer fashion sense. January 13th, 1968. A simple wooden stool and 4 microphones made music history. Cash insisted on recording at Folsom Prison, despite everyone saying it was too risky. Here's a fun fact about 1977's Wonder Woman. That iconic costume wasn't just for show. Every star and stripe had to be hand-stitched, and the outfit weighed over 40 pounds with all the gear. Linda Carter, a former beauty queen, brought such grace to the role that DC Comics actually changed their artwork to match her look. Meet Jane Fonda, 1967. Actress, fitness pioneer, and former ballet dancer. Before her famous workout videos, she trained at the bar for 15 years. That legendary flexibility? Pure dedication. She practiced 4 hours daily. Think your wardrobe is complicated? These 1890s fashionistas wore outfits weighing up to 15 pounds. Each dress took over 12 yards of fabric, and those fancy hats, all handmade with real flowers and feathers. Talk about Hollywood excess. This costume from Cleopatra cost more than an average house in 1963. Elizabeth Taylor made history as the first actor to earn $1 million salary. And that golden dress, pure silk covered in 24-karat gold thread. The crown she's wearing took 3 months to handcraft in California, 1977, peak Farrah Fawcett era. That iconic tennis outfit actually started a nationwide fitness craze. Those wooden tennis rackets she's holding, they cost about $20 back then. Her hairstyle was so popular that stores couldn't keep enough hairspray in stock to copy it. Behind the scenes of Galaxy Quest 1999, a parody that became a cult classic. This movie was such a perfect Star Trek spoof that Patrick Stewart refused to watch it for years, worried it would mock his career. Before Deadpool and Homeland, here's Morena Baccarin in her high school production, 1996. Looking space-age ready even then. Guess that was perfect practice for her later role in Firefly. Here's something special. Jimmy Stewart helping at his dad's hardware store in Indiana, Pennsylvania, 1945. Between Hollywood hits, he'd come back home to work the counter. That's a box of Soylax he's holding, just 25 cents back then. Athens, 1905. Meet one of the first travel photographers at the Parthenon. Those long skirts and fitted jackets were the standard tourist outfit, even in Greek heat. Her camera, probably a Kodak Brownie, the world's first affordable snapshot camera, costing just $1. Picture this. In 1963, this remarkable actress pulled off something incredible. She starred in 2 masterpiece films at the exact same time. Moving back and forth between sets, she experienced 2 completely different directing styles. On Visconti's The Leopard set, it was like being in church. Dead silent, everything meticulously planned. Meanwhile, on Fellini's 8.5 set, it was pure chaos and improvisation. Both films are now considered among the greatest ever made. In 1925, photographer Marcelin Flandrin captured an extraordinary moment during his flight on the Casablanca-Dakar air route. A solitary Barbary lion walking through the Atlas Mountains. This haunting image shows the majestic creature traversing the rocky terrain, creating a striking silhouette against the mountainous landscape. Picture this. In 1961, a young Swedish-American burst onto Hollywood's scene and quickly became its brightest star. Starting in Vegas lounges at 5 p.m. shows where nobody showed up, she transformed into a sensation by 1963. Step back to 1940, when 10 cents would get you a steaming cup of coffee and a hot hamburger. This roadside diner represents the golden age of American dining, when these gleaming stainless steel havens dotted our highways. Picture this. A hot September day in 1964 on Disney's backlot, where 2 entertainment legends were about to make movie magic. Julie Andrews, just 6 weeks after giving birth and never having made a movie before, arrives to find Dick Van Dyke already dancing away with the choreographers under a giant tarpaulin shade. Picture this. Paris in the 1930s, where fashion took elegant turn from the carefree flapper era. The first photo captures this transformation perfectly, showing 2 young women embodying different styles of the decade. One in a soft, feminine pink dress with a beret. The other sporting the bold new look with round sunglasses and a striking black ensemble.
Remember when grocery shopping was an event? 1969 marked the golden age of supermarkets. Those endless shelves of brand new products kept appearing every week. Grocery carts? They weren't always around. Sylvan Goldman invented them in 1937 because customers complained about heavy baskets. The funniest part? People initially refused to use them, thinking they looked silly. That's until Goldman hired models to push them around stores, making them look fashionable. During the 1990s, Bowie made an unexpected move into the financial world. In 1997, he became the first musician to turn himself into a bond. Yes, an actual Wall Street investment. Investors could buy Bowie bonds backed by his future music royalties. The revolutionary idea raised $55 million up front. Air travel in the 1960s was truly something special. First class on Swiss Air meant real silver cutlery, gourmet meals prepared right at your seat, and endless champagne. The fascinating part? A ticket cost about $450, equivalent to $4,000 today. Airlines competed not on price, but on luxury. Amsterdam in the 1970s had a fascinating traffic innovation. Local police pioneered the stop and wave system, where officers personally directed both cars and bicycles. The amusing twist? These officers became such beloved figures that tourists often mistook them for street performers. The iconic Hollywood sign started as a real estate advertisement in 1923, originally reading Hollywoodland. Each letter stood 45 feet tall, illuminated by 4,000 light bulbs. The fascinating part? This temporary marketing stunt for luxury housing cost $21,000, about $340,000 today. In 1965, ABC took an extraordinary risk casting an unknown 18-year-old Sally Field as Gidget. The network nearly passed on her because of her petite height, just 5'2". The remarkable twist? This supposed disadvantage became her trademark charm. Before donning the iconic costume, Linda Carter had a fascinating musical background. In 1973, after winning local beauty pageants, she performed as a singer in Las Vegas and across Europe. The intriguing part? She turned down multiple record deals to pursue acting, yet music remained her first love. 1956 marked a transformative moment in American history. Rosa Parks, a respected seamstress and community organizer, sparked a peaceful movement in Montgomery that reshaped public transportation. U.S. Marine in Vietnam making a statement about his commander-in-chief, Lyndon Baines Johnson, 1967. The 1960s marked a revolutionary decade in commercial aviation. Engineers designed innovative turboprop aircraft, featuring panoramic windows that transformed the flying experience. Before becoming Princess of Monaco, Grace Kelly pioneered a unique innovation in movie lighting. During her Hollywood days, cinematographers created the Kelly lighting technique specifically for her distinctive features. Northern Europe pioneered revolutionary educational innovation in the early 1900s. These outdoor classrooms combined fresh air exposure with traditional learning, establishing a model that spread across the continent. A fascinating Hollywood innovation emerged in 1973 when costume designer Bill Whitten created matching outfits for performers Debbie Reynolds and Carrie Fisher. The remarkable aspect? These coordinated designs pioneered a new fabric testing technique under stage leg. A single moment in 1959 revolutionized hockey safety equipment forever. During a Montreal Canadiens game, goalkeeper Jacques Plante made a decision that changed sports history. The remarkable aspect? Despite initial resistance from coaches and officials, his improvised face protection sparked a complete redesign of goalkeeper equipment. Within 5 years, protective masks became standard, leading to dramatic improvements in player safety and game dynamics. At age 20, Rosa Shanina showcased remarkable precision marksmanship in 1944. She pioneered innovative techniques for extreme distance accuracy and wrote detailed training manuals that influenced military education. 1966 marked an extraordinary business decision in music history when Dolly Parton and Carl Dean chose a unique path. Despite her rising stardom, Dean intentionally stayed out of the spotlight, focusing on his successful asphalt business. The remarkable aspect? Their partnership strategy proved brilliant. While Dolly built her entertainment empire, Carl's business acumen helped manage their investments. Portrait studios of the early 1900s doubled as social gathering spaces, preserving moments of camaraderie in formal settings. Studio photographers offered military personnel an opportunity to commemorate their friendships through staged indoor photography. In 1975, Ted Geisel revolutionized children's illustration with his unique character development process. Each version of the Grinch underwent precise refinements using a special curved line technique that captured both mischief and charm. Picture this. 1987, a young hotshot in a white t-shirt appears on British TV to complain about boring television. The fascinating part? That outspoken 28-year-old was working at a small record label called Fanfare Records, producing his first hit song, So Macho. Imagine 1963. Two rising stars meet on an MGM soundstage, sparking Hollywood magic. A Swedish bombshell and the king of rock, both passionate about motorcycles and late-night talks. During filming in Vegas, they shared more than just screen time at the Sahara Hotel. The fascinating twist. Every Vegas opening night afterward, she'd find a guitar-shaped flower arrangement waiting backstage.